Today we are doing something we've never done before, and we are going to be analyzing a profit and loss statement from a prospective juice business. Now, this is a fake scenario, but I'm going to teach you guys in this video how to analyze if you're in a situation where you're thinking about buying a juice business. Maybe that's the route you want to go. There's a lot of benefits into doing that. I'm going to show you how I would look at a profit and loss statement in a business, where I would see opportunities, where I would see red flags, and just give you guys a better understanding of how to analyze financial statements for a juice business, whether that's for a business you're going to buy or that's for your own company when you actually start getting going and you want to understand, how's my business doing? What are the things I need to look out for? That's what we're going to do today. If you guys are new to the channel and you don't know who I am, I'm Andrew McFarland. I've been in this industry for over 15 years at this point, running my own juice concepts as well as helping hundreds of people all over the world run successful juice and smoothie bars. So this information is coming from that experience. We're going to dive in right now. Okay, so you should see on the screen now a profit and loss statement of a company who's doing actually pretty good when it comes to their gross revenue. Okay, so they're making on the top line $850,000 a year. That's pretty good. They're in a place where their cost of goods are 57%. Not so good, but I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. So that leaves their gross profit at 42.8%. And then beyond that, their labor is at 30%. Not horrible, but not great. Okay, we're going to talk more about that as well. Their rent 7%, pretty good. Beyond that, they've got the other minor costs. I'm not going to go into these too much because they're not that significant when it comes to the business. And marketing we'll touch on. And ultimately, their net profit is at $4,150 a year. Not so good, okay? That's 0.5% net profit after all that money. Now, the reason that I created this scenario for you guys to look at is because this, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it from an opportunity standpoint, is all too common, okay? I've seen this situation a lot where businesses are making a good amount of money on the top line because that's mostly what they've been focused on. They've been focused on sales, customer service, or that's just what they're fortunate to experience, but they have not done a great job at managing their expenses. So I'm going to talk through these things in detail and give you an idea of how I would analyze this business. The first thing that I would say, just as an overall scenario, this for me, if I was looking to buy a business, is almost the perfect situation. Why? Because getting new customers to come into the door, getting customers to come into your business and spend a lot of money is usually one of the most challenging things that any business goes through. But saving money in a business in some areas is actually a lot easier to do than others. So let's break this down. As I mentioned, top line revenue, they're doing pretty good. I would also want to know with this business how long they've been operating. Because let's say it's year 2 and they're ready to sell and they're doing this kind of revenue. Well, guess what? They've got a lot of runway ahead of them. They probably can grow their business a lot. There's other opportunities for growth in here, but that tells me if they're a new business and they're doing this kind of revenue, and let's say they want to sell because who knows what the situation is. There's a divorce, they just don't want to do the business anymore, whatever the reason is, they want to move, there's a breakup, so forth. Okay, breakup of business partnerships, and you're coming in and you're like looking and say, okay, is this a good opportunity? This is amazing, okay? Because they're doing quite well on the top line. Now, where their biggest problem is, as you can see, is their cost of goods. Why do I like this? And this is also a common issue. The reason I would like this as a prospective buyer is because I know that there's things I can do to save a lot of money on the cost of goods. Okay, I can negotiate better deals with vendors. I can change recipes. Okay, I can change portions in recipes. I can change sizes of products. I can even charge the customers more if I know that there's certain products on the menu that are high demand. The menu is one of the places that you have the most freedom, control, influence when it comes to making money in your business. Okay, so when I see something like this, I go, wow, great. Where should this number actually be? This number in reality should be closer to maximum 30%, but in a healthier, higher performing business, more like 25%. Okay, so that means that you have over 25% of upside potential in terms of what you can add to your bottom line. Okay. And in a business like this, you're talking about already just in terms of 25% on $850,000, over $100,000. Okay. It's significant. So that business that goes from netting in a very short period of time, because you can do this overnight, a business that's not making any money, therefore isn't really valued that high, which I'm going to talk a little bit later on valuation, how you look at the value of this kind of business. But you can overnight say, what, I'm just going to turn on the money printer, and now I've got an extra $150,000 on the bottom line just from changing things in the menu. So that's the first thing that I'd say that's a really significant point when I look at this kind of scenario. The second thing that I would look at is the labor. Okay, now with labor, I see that there's opportunities there because more likely than not, the labor is probably higher than it needs to be because the menu is complicated. They got a lot going on. A lot of times businesses that aren't really doing great with their food costs, they're generally not very organized, and that lack of organization creates a lot of complexity operationally. Complexity operationally increases your labor. So I would look at it and say, okay, how do we get the labor down? Now, I do want to point out that reducing labor dollars is a lot harder than making money in your cost of goods. Why? Because you're dealing with a culture of people. You're dealing with people who've got the intention of pushing your labor up. They want to make more money. They want to work longer hours. So you're dealing with the cultural potential pushback of changing the way that people are used to doing things. And there can be a lot of resistance and a lot of friction when it comes to that. But it can be done when you create higher standards in the business. And it's usually going to be something that happens slower, where you might see, okay, we've decreased the labor now by 28% this month. Okay, now we're back down to 27%, and then we're making our way towards that 25% milestone and goal. And in a situation like this, I would say it's even possible to get lower than that. You could be at a point where this kind of business is operating at 24%, 23%, and now that's more money to your bottom line. Now, beyond that, the other things that you look at, things like fixed costs, rent, your rent's not going to change. It's going to be what it is until you keep increasing your top line revenue to get that percentage down. The other thing that stands out to me here is the marketing and advertising line. 1.4%, that tells me there's a lot of opportunity there. They're not really spending that much money on marketing. They're spending just over $1,000 a month marketing. This means that there's a lot of opportunity for campaigns, Facebook and Instagram ads, just other promotions you can do with influencers. And I would take that extra money that I started making now from the money I'm saving on the cost of goods, that extra $150,000 plus dollars, and I would start going, you know what? I'm going to put that into marketing now. I'm going to really be more aggressive so I can increase that top line revenue. This is a business that with steady marketing probably could start doing $1 million a year, 1.2, 1.3 or more. So this is why it's important to know how long they've been in business, how much they've saturated the market, but also what the numbers look like and where you can reinvest to grow the top line. So moving on from there, looking at things like insurance, repairs, maintenance, these costs generally in this business, I'd say, they're healthy, they're low. And then you have your total operating expenses. So these are really the big things that I would look at and say, okay, what can I do in this business? Now let's talk about how would I value a business like this? There's a lot of factors that are going to come into play, okay? When valuing a business sale, what are you actually purchasing? One thing you're purchasing is going to be the lease. The lease term, how good is the lease? Because if this is a scenario where this person's selling the business and guess what? They've got a year left on their lease, 6 months left on their lease. Well, you're running into a big risk. If you don't pre-negotiate with that landlord to get terms in as a contingency for the sale, you might end up in a situation where you spend X amount of dollars on the business and then the landlord comes and says, you know what? For this new owner at this point, I'm going to double the rent, triple the rent. Now you're in a place where you're really, really stuck. You're not in a good position. So one of the things that you're buying when you're buying into a business is the value of that lease, okay? The next thing you're buying is going to be what we call the asset value. This can be a little bit interesting to quantify because you're looking at what's the value of the equipment in that location, what's the value of the build out. So if I was to start from scratch and do all this myself, how much is it going to cost me to do? There's going to be some depreciation on that, right? Because you're not buying the equipment new. You're not doing the construction new. That just like if you were buying a used car, the value of the car is going to be very different, whether the person's been driving around for a while or whether you just bought it off the lot. So that's going to be something that has to be understood specifically. And then the last thing is going to be, what is the multiple on the net profit? So in a situation like this where you're like, okay, their business is barely making money. It's just getting beyond breaking even. Standard multiples in the restaurant world, depending on what kind of business it is, can be anywhere from a one-to-one multiple, meaning if the business made $100,000 that year, kind of the minimum you'd usually spend on that business is going to be that extra $100,000. But you might go 1.2, 1.5, 2 times multiple. 3 to 4 is a little bit extreme. Usually those are in different kinds of businesses that could be like nightclubs or businesses that have been around for a very, very long period of time that have a lot of staying power, things that have a lot more novelty to them that don't have a lot of risk that in the next number of years that business could collapse. But normally I'd say in a healthy range, you're going to be somewhere at a 2 times multiple maximum. I would say with a business like this that's not really making much money, you're going to mostly doing what I call an asset purchase, meaning what are the value of the assets that are in the business, the physical infrastructure and assets. So I would not value this business very, very highly. And it would also depend on what the lease amount is. And I would also consider, why is the business owner selling? Okay, there's been situations where what will happen a lot of times with new sales, a business owner is going to have a really emotional connection to their business. They're going to go, I put my blood, sweat, and tears in this business. I'm $400,000 in this business. I want to sell it at least for break even and sell it for 400 grand. And you're going to go, you know what? I can't do that. I'll offer you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. And they're going to probably say no. But some time's going to go by. And this is the exact scenario that happened actually with one of our clients that was looking at buying a business and then having us revamp their business and put their concept together. And this previous owner said, no, we can't do it. I think they were asking for in the couple $100,000. I told our client, I said, it's not worth that. Here's what I would offer. I think we offered them 70,000. And I said, they may not take it because they're emotional and they're attached to their business, but this is what the business is worth. And more likely than not, they'll come back to you in a few months when they're not getting a business sale and realize they had a real offer on the table and they're going to offer you the business. And that's exactly what happened. A few months rolled by, they came back around and said, okay, hey, are you still willing? Is the offer still on the table? We're going to give it to you for 70,000. And they got the deal that they wanted. So always make sure that you're paying a good price, fair price, but also not just fair to the business owner, but fair to yourself, considering what you're going to have to get into, because you're going to walk into a situation, it's going to take some work. They're not just handing you a golden ticket and a money printer of a business that's just making money. They're handing you something that you're going to really have to put some time and effort into revamping. Okay. So these are really the high level things. If you guys are interested in having us help you with evaluating a business, or you want to start a concept from scratch, or you want to discuss what the pros and cons are of both scenarios, feel free to reach out to me personally at Andrew@StartAJuiceBar.com. The other thing that I want to talk about is, what are the benefits of buying a business if they're not obvious to you? Why would you walk into this situation? One, it's going to save you a lot of time and energy. Okay. Two, if they're making money, as I mentioned on the top line, they have a proof of concept. There's something that they're doing well, and you can double down on the things that are going well, and then you can also improve the elements of the business that are not going so well. Okay. This is a great money-saving and time-saving activity. What are some of the challenges? Some of the challenges are going to be potentially not fully knowing what the people and the culture that you're walking into. Sometimes you might lose half the staff if you walk into that business and they really were attached to the old owner, and they come in and they're like, I just don't want to work for anybody else, or I don't know who this person is, and you're trying to make all these significant changes. They don't like it. You could have a cultural pushback of all the employees there. So how you approach these things and the strategy for approaching these things is an art form. It's very sensitive. These are things that we're happy to talk to you about as well. But I would say overall, buying a business, if you were to walk into a situation and get this business for 70 grand and it was a company that you really liked and respected, it's a great deal. I'm more a fan of this than not. Okay. The other thing that I want to say is that most scenarios aren't like this. Okay. When you're looking at evaluating a business, I don't want to give you the misperception that purchasing a business in all situations is better than starting on your own. These kinds of things have to be analyzed always, scenario by scenario. Okay. You have to look at it specifically, meticulously, because most business scenarios and most business sales are not great. A lot of times you're taking on way more problems than you would like to take on, or that you would even be prepared for. So you have to go into this coherent, cognizant, clear of what the risk is that you're taking on, what the risk and potential benefits are that you're walking into, so you can make a good decision. So that's it for today's video. Sending you guys my love. Hope you're well. If you're not following us on Instagram, you got to follow us on Instagram. We post there regularly. We have recipes. We have other kinds of unique content that goes on Instagram exclusively. You can also DM us there if you want to talk to us. And we have a podcast on Spotify and on iTunes. If you guys prefer to listen and to watch videos, or you just like the well-rounded mediums, I'm kind of like that too. I like podcasts, I like videos, I like Instagram, I do it all. So follow us on Spotify and on Apple. It's the Juice Bar Experts podcast. Super easy to find. And that's the message for today. Sending you guys my love. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Hope you guys have been enjoying the video content. If you're inspired to learn even more about how to start your juice business from scratch, for you, we have a free ebook. It's called the 15 Steps to Starting Your Juice Business. And this is going to go through a high-level overview, through a step-by-step process on how you get your business off the ground. Everything from branding, menu development, finding the right location, and more. This is going to be a clear roadmap so you know how to go from where you are all the way to opening your store. If you want to go even deeper, we've also created an online course. It's called the Juice Bar Master Blueprint. This is going to go into great depth on everything from how do you put together and think about recipe development? How do you cost out your menu and what's the math around it? What equipment do you need? How do you design your store? How do you find the right location? And so much more. I know you're going to find a lot of value out of both of these. There's links in the description below. So I hope to see you guys at the next video, and enjoy.